Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Friday. It's August 9th. It is 2024. We have a 13-game baseball slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined today on Friday, as always, by my good buddy, Will Priester, ChiefJustice06. Chief, what's happening, my friend?
Not much, brother. Doing good. How's everything going your way? Should be a fun slate.
Fun slate, yeah. 13 games on a Friday. I think that definitely is fun. The pitching is really interesting. I think we have some clear-cut options, and then we have a lot of drop-offs. So we'll talk about that as we're going through the games here, posting the Morning Grind contest over there in chat. Winner of the Morning Grind contest today, free 3-day pass to the NASCAR Premium here at RotoGrinders. We're back at Richmond this weekend for NASCAR DFS. I feel really good about it. It's the second time that we've gone to this racetrack this year, and this is when I start digging in, Will. Second time going to racetracks, so excited for Richmond. So winner of the contest here on Friday will get to partake in the NASCAR Premium for this weekend. 13 games, lots to talk about. What's up, YouTube? Hope you're having a great night. Let's jump right in. We got a lot to cover, so we're gonna jump in here and get started with Texas at New York. Yankees 9 total. Yankees a 174 favorite. Cody Bradford, Carlos Rodon. Any interest here in Bradford?
Not particularly, Stevie. I don't think this is a good spot for him. I mean, if he's pitching well, maybe he gets, a really nice leash. But generally speaking, I don't know how well, this is going to go. What his third start, maybe something like that against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. Going to be an X for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a really tough spot. I think that there's going to be matchups that you're going to potentially take shots on Bradford. A lefty. He's a little bit above average strikeouts. He has a little bit of upside overall. If we expect him to be stretched out too, we really haven't seen him stretch out since the beginning of the year. So it's really tough matchup in Yankee Stadium against a low strikeout Yankees team. Not something that we're typically used to. We're very used to the Yankees being a heavy strikeout team, but that's just not the case. Strike out a little bit more against lefties, but they should get some of these lefties out of the lineup as well. So I'm with you on Bradford. His leash also worries me. Carlos Rodon on the other side. Any interest here?
And I just really haven't been a Rodon guy this season, Stevie. Realistically, he has pitched in terms of fantasy production a lot better, over the course of the season than I thought he would. Everything's looked better, generally speaking. I know the K rate's been up. Probably the toughest decision I'm going to make on this slate, Stevie. I think if I'm in large field, I play him. Single entry, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, the ceiling is there. He has at least 7 strikeouts and 4 straight starts. So I think if you're just chasing the ceiling, maybe you could do it. But overall, it's not the worst matchup in the world. They don't strike out a ton though. You're really kind of chasing his ceiling overall for Carlos Rodon. So I think in large field stuff, I would be willing to take the shot, knowing that you're getting anywhere from 5 fantasy points to 35 fantasy points. Not a single entry guy, but he has to be. I think he has to be in your large field pool. His strikeout ability is too high not to have interest in him on a slate where pitching is kind of all over the place. Any interest in the Texas bats here?
Yeah, I mean, slight interest. Abasil Adalis. I was about to say Abasil. Good Lord. Adalis Garcia at 4,100, Stevie. I think that's too cheap. Langford at 4K. I think that's fairly cheap. Those two bats, I'm for sure interested in. I think Texas is cheap overall. Simeon's 4,700. So these righties, man, I am definitely interested.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously always like the potential of stacking against Rodon because when he's off, he's usually off. So I don't mind chasing some power. He's a fly ball guy. He'll give up home runs from time to time. So overall, very interested in Texas and large field stuff. Like interested in Rodon, interested in Texas. Definitely interested in the Yankees too. They obviously offer plenty of upside here. Judge, Volpe, Soto, lefty. I mean, I'm very interested in the Yankees bets.
Yeah, for sure, man. And Verdugo's back too. And why am I bringing up Verdugo, Stevie? He may lead off. I'm not saying he's going to, but he's 3,500, and he's going to be somewhere in the top 6. Like he's not going to be 8, 9, 7. Somewhere in the top 6, he'll be there, even if he isn't leading off. So I really like that price. That's a great price. You got Wells at 4,200. Rice at 43, Torres at 36, and a lot of these guys, man, like the cheap guys are just giving you so much salary relief for their overall stat. I don't know if I get the Judge and Stanton. Judge and Soto. Excuse me. I don't know if I get to both of them, Stevie, because I do value Jazz here, and I know Jazz is lefty, but I just feel like Jazz has so much upside on the base paths compared to these guys if he gets on, and so I really like that ability from him. So at 5,400, he's also going to make the cut, and I just think these cheap guys, you use them as a measure to make the stack a little bit more affordable. I'm assuming LeMahieu's going to play today. I'm assuming since he's facing a lefty, and he's 2,500, Stevie. So that gives you even another affordable piece. So really like this spot for them.
All right, moving on. We got Oakland at Toronto, 8.5 total in this game. The Blue Jays are 126 favorite. Mitch Spence, Jose Barrios. Any interest here in Mitch Spence?
No.
The quick no. You love to see it. I mean, Mitch Spence actually strikes out lefties a little bit more than righties, and this lineup is much more right-handed heavy. So I think that you're always kind of wanting Mitch Spence to face like a lefty heavy team, and like that's just not what the Blue Jays are. So lack of strikeouts in this lineup too, like Springer, Clement, Vlad, Kirk, Horwitz. They just don't strike out a ton. The bottom half, like Varsho, depending on who catches and stuff, like there's some potential strikeouts at the bottom half, but I don't think there's enough even at 5,800 here for Mitch Spence for me to like love him. He's been pitching okay recently. Like if you're playing 150, I don't think there's like a great option just in general, like as like a full-on punt play. Cabrera is not like the worst option. He has a little bit of upside. We'll talk about like Martin Perez against the Marlins. He has a little bit of upside, but I think like if you're playing 150 and you just want to maybe take some shots on him, you can. Joe is asking about the weather in New York. We break down every game. We do not look at the weather. We let that be Kevin Roth. We just give you a full breakdown of each game, and if the weather affects something, then Kevin Roth will tell you tomorrow. So that's what we've always done. That's the way we'll do it. Barrios. Any interest in Barrios here against Oakland?
I'm not thrilled, Stevie, because the strikeout upside, man. Like, yeah, we've seen him, 6-5 here recently, but overall in the season, I think if you're playing Barrios, you're trying to play him for some type of run prevention, Stevie, and less for the strikeout upside. And I'm not sure if you're going to completely get that with Oakland moving to a better ballpark than what they play in. So I understand Barrios is 7,800. I think we have better options that are closer in price.
Joe saying, my bad. Listen, hey, man, thanks for being here. I just wanted to let everybody know that we don't worry about weather on the morning grind for baseball. We let Kevin Roth do that. Now, for football, we'll definitely talk about how weather could impact things. But for baseball, trying to predict the weather the night before is just impossible. So I know the tropical storm that you and I have already had to deal with, Will, being
Stevie,
where we're at.
Is it still raining? Like, has it still been
I
raining?
mean, it's Florida. It rains every day.
Yeah, it's been
so,
raining here, like pretty much the same. Just so you both know, like, well, just so everybody knows, Stevie and I like kind of live by the coast, so we're always going to get rain.
We always get rain. Yeah, I mean, I let Kevin Roth do his thing. He's so fantastic at it, but I'm with you on Berrios. Like, I think he could potentially limit the damage a little bit, but 18% Ks just doesn't excite me. Oakland has been hitting the ball better too. Like, it's just a team that has come a long way since where they were at in the first month of the season. So I think I'll pass on Berrios. Any interest here in the Oakland Bats?
Look, man, I think Oakland's in play today, but specifically for a stack, Stevie, because this when we talk about Berrios and his lack of strikeouts, I just think with Oakland and everything they possess, everything that they can do with this team, like Langlear's 43. Speaking of that, Stevie, I've got a Langlear's rookie card that one of the subscribers gave me, and thanks Deli for that one. G-Loft still 3,100, pretty cheap. It's just I think these guys are incredibly cheap. Butler's 3,800, and the Har's 4K. I just think you need to stack this team, Stevie, because if Berrios starts giving away runs, some of it's going to come from the long ball, and I think we've just seen that. And so I think Oakland's cheap enough for us to get quality pitching and another big stack on the other side, and I like them a ton.
I'm going to keep playing them. I mean, I play Oakland a lot, and I'm not going to stop here. They're getting a ballpark upgrade. Roker, Blade, Butler. Who's the catcher? Kyle McCann, if he catches here, he's 2,800, a lefty against Berrios. So, I mean, if you don't want to pay for Langlears, like my boy Bangaliers is always in play. But yeah, I like Oakland. I'm going to keep playing them. Toronto, like, I'm not necessarily excited about playing Toronto. I don't think like Mitch Spence is someone you're scared to play. But outside of like Springer and Vlad, maybe Horwitz, it's just hard for me to get excited about playing the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I'm never excited about playing the Blue Jays because very rarely do I get this team right. But I think the spot is okay, Steve. I mean, you got Kirk at 3,200, Vlad's 5,200, but generally speaking, this team is pretty cheap. So I'm okay with plugging them in. I mean, Loper Fido, 2,400. Barge has been playing; he's 2,300. Varsho 33. Like I said, I think this team's cheap enough for you to be able to get them in. Once again, I'm not like super excited about it, but they're almost just as cheap as Oakland. In fact, I think they are as cheap as Oakland, Steven, when you add in these 3K pieces. So I'm fine with rolling Toronto out there against Spence.
All right, we got Houston at Boston. Another game that could be potentially messed up a little bit by weather, but again, we'll let Kevin Roth kind of do his thing tomorrow. This might be an 11-game slate because of the weather, but 9 total. Boston is slight favorite. Blanco, Houch. Any interest here in Blanco?
Oh man, I don't think so, Stevie. Look, nothing against Blanco, but I'd much rather him be a lefty against Boston than a righty. Boston's been just handing right-handed pitchers their lunch, especially when they're not elite. Blanco's been good this season, but I still don't consider him elite, Stevie. Could be very well on his way after he gets a full season of this belt and comes back and adds a few more things to their arsenal and just continues to improve. Could be elite. I don't think he's quite there yet. Away from home, at 9,100, I want to be selective. He's not going to make the cut for me today.
Yeah, I mean, he's so expensive, and it's such a tough matchup. Like, I think you could play left-handed pitching against Boston. but they go so left-handed now against right-handed pitchers, and they have a lot of upside. They don't strike out a ton. They brought in Jansen, who's a good hitting catcher that can hit right-handed pitching as well, that doesn't strike out. So I think the matchup is just really tough overall for Blanco. Any interest here in Tanner Houck on the other side?
No. And Houck is a guy that I've played a fair amount this season. And once again, Stevie, some of these younger pitchers, maybe they're getting tired. I'm not sure. Rough start against Colorado, rough start against New York, rough start against Texas. Obviously had another rough start against New York prior to that. And this should be a fairly tough spot for him against Houston. Now, Houston isn't as potent as they've been in the past, but the strikeouts are still down. He is 8,300. So, I understand if you decide you want to play him last piece in, but I still think I'm going to pass here.
Yeah, so again, as a Red Sox fan, I watch a lot of Red Sox baseball, and he was kind of pitching above his head to start the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. And a lot of the Red Sox pitchers were.
Most
and
of the young guys, all of them were.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of caught up. He has a 16.5% strikeout rate, 12% walk rate, 350 WOBA over the last month. He's just been getting hit hard, and he's getting hit hard against teams that shouldn't be hitting him necessarily as hard as they are. He's had a tough stretch of games, and I get that, but even in some easier matchups, he's struggled. So I think overall, I want to pass 8,300. I mean, I like Jordan Alvarez for sure. When Houch has been struggling recently, it's been left-handed power. He could potentially pitch well against right-handed heavy teams, but this team just doesn't strike out. So I like Jordan Alvarez as far as bats go. What do you like here for the Houston bats? Oh, the mute over hit.
All right. Everybody cashing your tickets. Ah, boy.
0 for 2 this week. You gotta shape up next week. You can't be cashing these tickets so easy for everybody.
Yeah, 3 games in too. How about that? I'm perfectly fine with Alvarez. I'm okay with Yannier Diaz. I don't know about Altuve here, Stevie. He's 5,300. I'm okay with it, but I want a little bit more upside. I think I'd rather play Bregman, Jeremy Payne at 4,100. I'm okay with. I'm just okay with most of these guys. So there you have it. And then my boy Richie says minus 175 on the Chief mute. So listen, if we're at minus 175, then you guys go ahead and get your plus 120 tickets ready for next week, and we're gonna make you some real money.
I don't know. I think I'd take the over half. We love you, my friend. Let's go to the Boston side here. Tyler O'Neill, a surprise IL visit. So some type of infection
in his the second one.
It's infection in his leg or something. So we'll have to kind of see how that kind of shapes up. Any interest here in the Red Sox?
I do, man. I have plenty of interest because this team, I mean, they're going to be so left-handed heavy. It's not even going to be funny. So love these guys. Hamilton, who's been further at the bottom now. Maybe he gets a little bit closer to the top with O'Neill out. We'll see. Devers, obviously. Duran. Yoshina's actually been my favorite, Stevie, because they haven't really priced him up too far yet. And he's been batting somewhere between 2 and 5. As crazy as that, he's just kind of been in that range. So Yoshina's been a favorite of mine. They've had Rafaela, kind of 6 to 8. I just think this team in general has really, really played well. Excuse me. So I love the Boston Red Sox here in this spot. I think it's a really good spot for them.
I like the Red Sox. If this game plays, they're definitely a team that I'm going to play quite a bit. All right, moving on. San Diego at Miami. 8 total. San Diego, 138 favorite. Perez and Cabrera. Any interest here in Martin Perez?
No.
Really? Like, that was a quick no.
Mm-mm.
All right, well, I mean, I have interest in Perez. He's 6,200 facing Miami. I get, like,
I
you're
can't
not
do
getting
Martin Perez.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting any upside, but I mean, he's the captain of 15 fantasy points. So, like, if Martin Perez, if he could get you like 15, 16 fantasy points, like, it's not a day where I think we're going to have like 10 pitchers score 30 fantasy points. So, I think on this slate in particular, like, Martin Perez is fine. I have some interest in some of the Miami bats. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, you look at this lineup against left-handed pitching this season, and their ISO's under 100. Their WOBA's like 277, and their strikeout rate's 26%. Like, I mean, Jake Berger hits left-handed pitching really well. The jury's still out on really all the other young guys in this lineup. So I think Perez,
all right, you sold me.
In this ballpark, he limits the damage and throws 6 solid innings for 17 fantasy points, right? Like, I mean, I don't like playing Martin Perez just as much as the next guy, but I think he can pitch okay in this spot, and I think is fine.
Stevie, I get it, and you know what?
And like, he's in San Diego now too. Like, he's not pitching in Pittsburgh. They might give him a little bit more of a leash here. Like, the leash was kind of going away in Pittsburgh. Like, maybe they need San Diego is in desperate need of guys to go 6 to 7 innings here. So, I mean, I think it all kinds of lines up for him being okay.
Yeah, I mean, you sold me on it, man. Like, I just don't usually play Perez, but I get it. It's Miami. He's 6,200. And Stevie, here's what triggered it for me. You're like, he's the king of 15 fantasy points. And then you sit back and you kind of look at the pitching options on this slate. Anyway, you say, you know what? That 15 fantasy points for 6,200 might just work out. If he gets 8, okay, whatever. But I've had a change of heart on Martin Perez for the sake of this slate.
Yeah, fair enough. Cabrera on the other side. I mean, I have slight interest in Cabrera.
Ooh.
Like the Padres, a pretty low strikeout team, so like I don't run to play pitchers against them. But I mean, like, Cabrera is a 29% K rate guy, and we don't have a lot of 29% K rate guys on this slate. So, I mean, I might just take a few shots on him in large field stuff. Like, if I'm playing a 20-incher max, maybe I put him in like 2 to 4 lineups here. He's 6,600. Can he maybe beat the bottom half of this lineup and lose to the top half? Maybe, and the ball stays in the ballpark and he gives up a couple runs, but he strikes out like 6 or 7 and he scores like 15 to 18. Like, he's 29% K rate guy. Like, he has some upside.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just afraid he might walk 5 guys in this game.
But yeah, so they don't strike out, but they don't walk very much. You know that, right? Like, San Diego, this lineup has one of the lowest walk rates in baseball.
No, I know, but he will walk them. Like,
he's like, I will make it my mission.
I'm telling you. I mean, I just see this guy have meltdowns in the walks department. I'm with you though. All cheap guys aren't created equal, and there's something to be said for 29% K rate. And it's not like this just magically appeared this year too, Stevie. He's always had strikeout stuff. It's just, can he pitch with better control? And we've seen that it's been an up and down thing with him this year. Now, I will say, when he first came back, obviously he got punished a little bit. And as he's pitched more, he's been better. And so, once again, at 6,600, we're not asking him to get 30. I think, once again, he's in the 15 fantasy point range. I think that's possible at 6,600. I'd play Cabrera for sure over Perez if I had to choose between the two because of the strikeout upside. I also understand Perez has a much softer matchup, so you can balance that however you will. But I'm okay with Cabrera at 6,600 for sure.
All right, let's talk bats here. San Diego bats. I mean, tough lineup, right? Bogart's back, Machado. I mean, obviously Tatis out. Marrero has been hitting the ball really well. It's tough lineup, terrible ballpark, but like you mentioned, when Cabrera is wild, you know, this is a spot where you like to stack against Cabrera because if he's pitching bad, and he's walking a ton of hitters. All it takes is a few big hits, and you're off to the races. So I think the Padres are okay today.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you there. Once again, I don't want to load up because I do think Cabrera can pick up some strikeouts here, which may neutralize their ability to string runs together as long as he doesn't walk a bunch of guys. That's my only fear with Cabrera, Stevie, that he walks one too many guys in the wrong inning and gives up 2 or 3 timely hits. But Profar is a bit too expensive for me in this spot, I think. So that's kind of where I am with him. I understand like Machado is also 5,300. You've got Cronenworth at 43, which I think is a much better price to get exposure to this team. Xander's 44. I think that's a much better price. Ha-Seong Kim, he's been batting down at the bottom of the order. He'll probably be 7th today, 7th or 8th if they're facing the righty. David Peralta hit a home run today, Steve. You're on the previous slate. He's 2,500, and he should be in the lineup. So I don't mind, if you want to stack this team or get a mini stack, that's fine. But I don't want to load up. I don't think I'm going 5 deep on San Diego today. And let me just put a slight vent in here. Can the Philadelphia Phillies please score some runs? Like, they've got 6 hits off Jordan Montgomery and nothing, just absolutely nothing to show for it. And that game's happening while we're recording. And, of course, I need the Phillies to do anything for the props, of course. Jeez.
I do like your thoughts as far as like San Diego as more of a mini stack than a full stack, so I don't hate that. Miami side of this game, on like teams that I'm not playing Perez, because obviously like Perez is not an all-in guy for anybody. I definitely like Berger and Bride. If Derek Hill's in there, I think you could potentially play some Derek Hill. He's like 20. He's 2,500. So Bride is 26, Hill is 25, Berger is 42. So that 3-man is very cheap. Derek Hill, in a very small sample size, has crushed left-handed pitching this season. So I mean, I think I think Miami, another team you could maybe one-offs. I don't know if I'd stack them. Perez not likely going to get blown up here, but using some of these cheap bats, I think, is fine.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's where I'm at also, Stevie. I mean, we're kind of on cheap catcher alert. If he cracks the lineup, Ali Sanchez at 2,200. Not saying he's the best hitter in the world. I'm just saying he's a cheap catcher, not one of the big end guys. And, he could make it work if you need to squeeze in another bat. I'm with you on Berger at 4,200. Like, obviously he's a little bit more expensive than some of these guys, but he could absolutely send one out of the park here. So I'm not planning to load up on the Marlins, but I'm okay with one.
Windy City Series, Cubs, White Sox, 8 total. Cubs a 148 favorite. Jamison Taillon against Garrett Crochet. Any interest here in Taillon?
Stevie, I mentioned it before the show. I don't think I have played Jamison Taillon all season. He's
playing the White Sox today.
Against the White Sox. He's getting rostered. He may even have some upside here. See, man, we have seen him get to, between 5 to 7 strikeouts in certain games, right? In certain games. Now, we haven't seen it recently. Last time it was against Baltimore. It was it'll be a month ago tomorrow. Let's hope 7 strikeouts show up and he stays fairly clean. And we're looking at a beautiful fantasy score from him. Really like Jamison Taillon at 8,200, as will a lot of people in the industry, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to like him in this spot a little bit. The White Sox stink. I mean, what did they just lose? 21 straight games? They just fired their manager. They're awful. I mean, they're one of the worst teams in baseball. They're almost as bad as Oakland's bullpen was last year. Taillon, not a guy that I typically play either. His struggles definitely has kept his price down. I worry about his leash, but yeah, I mean, too good of a spot not to play him. Should limit the damage, has some strikeout ability. A lot of strikeouts in this lineup overall. Crochet on the other side, I mean, they have just gone from like this guy having like a full leash to being very careful with him. I mean, I know this guy, like, this is his first season as like a starter, but they're very clearly limiting his innings down the stretch here. Do I want to play him if he was a full go? Yeah. I mean, I really would like to play him here, but I'm kind of scared by like the lack of innings, the lack of pitch count, how fast they've pulled him, how he really hasn't gone out and like dominated a team. Like,
I think he knows what's going on, Stevie. I think they wanted to trade him. They couldn't trade him. They had too high of an asking price, and now I think they're just trying to keep him healthy. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, they've come out and said that there's a chance that they move him to the bullpen at some point to limit his innings and workload. But like, I don't know, man. Like, really?
We can't take a shot at 9,400. I don't think.
No, I know. Like, it's so. The problem is, Will, like, if he goes out and he randomly throws like 95 pitches in this game, he probably crushes. I just don't think he throws 95 pitches, and I hate what they're doing with him. I love the talent. I love the upside. I like the matchup, but I can't trust it. I mean, if you have bigger kahunas, I guess, but it doesn't make sense. I mean, Johnson and Chat just nailed it. They're wasting his time. They are. They're literally, this guy was absolutely dominating baseball, and they're like, oh, well. So, I mean, overall. Atlanta.
Sale, I mean, Crochet.
Send him somewhere. Like, I don't know. If they were going to do all this crap, like, why even, like, mess around with, like, what they're doing with him? I don't know. It's after the trade deadline, so maybe, but I don't think I can do it.
Yep.
He was pacing strikeouts too. Like he was definitely, he probably still hits over 200, but man, he was on pace for a huge season. Any interest here in the Cubs?
Man, so here's the thing. They're probably going to get 3 to 4 innings of Crochet. And Stevie, but here's the dilemma. I don't know if it's pitch count or innings count. You get what I'm saying? Like,
no one does.
Yeah. So,
hey, they fired their coach. Should we factor that in with Crochet?
I mean, we're saying that it might be. I don't think I'm playing the Cubs, Stevie. Like, I'm so glad you mentioned that because we did know that they fired him, but
yeah.
I'm not playing the Cubs because I think that's a valid point in terms of them firing their manager. If for some reason this manager says, "Look, hey,
you're our best pitcher. Go out there and throw 100 pitches and do the best you can." Yeah.
Okay. You know what, Stevie?
I'd rather than just like give him a full leash. I don't know. Give him a full leash for another month and then shut him down for the season if you're worried about his innings. But yeah, I mean, what are we doing?
I'm not playing the Cubs, but I
will be actively looking on Twitter tomorrow for beat writers on anything mentioning like Crochet. Like I'll set like a tweet deck like list for Crochet mentions tomorrow because I mean if we get some kind of report where like, hey, the interim coach is going to let Crochet open back up a little bit here down the stretch, like sign me up. I mean, I'll play him. I have no issues playing him in this spot if we know he's going to throw 90 plus pitches. So I don't know. We'll have to kind of see how. I can't believe he's finishing the season in a White Sox uniform. But as far as the Cubs bats, I mean, Paredes would be the guy that I'd target here. He's really good against left-handed pitching, but I mean, I don't think I'm going to one-off him against Crochet. And the White Sox, do you have any interest here in the White Sox bats?
No.
Cardinals against Kansas City, 9 total in this one. Kansas City is slight favorite, almost a pick'em style game. Mikolas, Lorenzen, any interest here in Miles Mikolas?
No.
Yeah, I don't want to play him. The Cardinals just tilting in general for me. They just dropped a game against the Rays that made me lose a bet, so I don't like the Cardinals right now anyway. Mikolas he's not somebody I think I've played at all this year, and I'm not going to start against Kansas City. Michael Lorenzen, I think Lorenzen's just kind of too pricey. Overall, like the pitching slate's not great. This matchup has a little bit of upside, but overall, I think this is a spot I'll stay away from Lorenzen.
Yep, same here.
The price made it very easy.
Yeah, $8K, and I don't think he's got enough upside against St. Louis.
Yeah, the price made it like it's one of those decisions where you're just like, man, I don't even have to like second guess it. If he's like 6K, maybe you second guess it, but 18% Ks on the season. Cardinals bats. Any interest in St. Louis here?
Yeah, I'm fine with St. Louis, Stevie. I think they're cheap enough. Burleson, what are you going to do today, buddy? Are you going to actually hit the ball for us? Inside track there. Burleson went 0 for 5 the previous slate, and I just needed, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. No tilting here for me. Haha, sarcastic. I'm okay with Burleson. I'm okay with Donovan, who's also 3,800. Arenado, 4K. Stevie Goldschmidt, 5,600. Not playing him today. I think that's too expensive for his overall body of work for the season. But generally speaking, most other pieces from this team I'm interested in. Obviously, when he's been leading off for a while, he's 4,300. I just think the Cardinals as a whole are very affordable.
Yeah, I think Wynn is really interesting in this spot. Lorenzen's kind of reverse splitsy, so like right-handed power bats. So Contreras, Arenado are all interesting, but I think St. Louis is okay. This game has some potential to score some runs for sure. I love the Kansas City side of this game, Will. Pasquantino, I keep talking about it. You guys are probably sick of hearing me talk about it, but this guy is one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now. 17 of his last 18 games, 6 home runs over his last 8 games. Like he's raking. He has came back from the All-Star break and he's refreshed and he is just hitting everything. And it's Miles Mikolas. Mikolas stinks. This guy is hittable to both sides of the plate, gives up a ton of hard contact to lefties. I absolutely love Kansas City. They're one of my favorite stacks on the slate.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You talk about Vinny P. Vinny P respects the coin, Stevie. Just keeps coming through for me day in and day out. 4,800 definitely makes the cut. Perez at 5,100. Man, I wish he would just start crushing the ball, Stevie. Like, we're just not seeing the consistent power. It's so sporadic right now. But if you're stacking this team, I definitely think, he needs to be in there. Obviously, not to overlook Bobby Witt, who's been one of the best players in all of baseball, Stevie. 6,400, really like him. They've still been playing Adam Frazier. Now, they haven't been leading him off. Stevie, he's just kind of been in weird parts of the lineup. But if he cracks the lineup, I'm okay with it. We'll need some salary relief if we're going to get Witt, Pasquantino, and possibly Sal Powell in there. So I want to mention him also. They've also been playing Hunter Renfroe. He's kind of been like an everyday guy. Now, he hasn't been as productive, but I'm sure he will be in the lineup. And so I think building, crafting this team with the cheapies and expensive guys, it makes it very interesting against Miles Mikolas, who's been very hittable.
All right, moving on. We got Cleveland at Minnesota. This game does not have a total. It sounds like Alex Cobb will get activated off the IL and pitch here. Everything that I've read says that it's going to be Cobb coming back from the IL. And then on the other side, it'd be Louis Varland here pitching for Minnesota. Any interest here in Alex Cobb?
No.
Yeah, he's been out all year. We have no idea what to expect. It wasn't an arm, but it was, I think he had hip surgery, if I remember correctly. It wasn't like an arm injury, but he's cheap. Minnesota's really good against right-handed pitching. I don't think this is a spot. Oh, yeah, man. Not a spot I want to play Alex Cobb. That's for sure.
Minnesota for me is like Milwaukee for you this season. Minnesota just comes through for me, man. Oh man.
I think the total in this game opens pretty high too. Like Louis Varlin on the other side. Any interest here in Louis Varlin?
Not today. Not against Cleveland.
Not against this team. One of the lowest strikeout teams in baseball. The lineup has just been hitting, man. Like they have been hitting up and down. This is a tough lineup overall. Any interest here in the bats for Cleveland?
Plenty. They're just expensive. Stevie Kwan, 4,900. Excuse me, Ramirez, 6,100. Naylor, 47, which is cheaper than they've been. I think we play them, man. I think we get these guys in. Obviously, Martinez at 3,400 is another guy you could add to this team, Stevie. So I am on Cleveland. Cleveland's been good to me as well. Two teams, Stevie, that most of the time when I play them, they produce. I'm loving it. Can't wait to get these guys rostered.
Yeah, I mean, Varlin, he gives up a ton of power to lefties. So Ramirez, Naylor, incredible spots. Martinez, he stinks against righties too. He's not good. He's not great. Minnesota bats, I have no idea what to expect for Cobb. I mean, I did read a report that said like he's looked okay in his AAA starts. And he threw, I think, 68 pitches or something, if I remember. I'm not doing it. I want to play some Minnesota bats against Cobb.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Minnesota, one of my favorite teams all season, Stevie. That's not stopping today. Obviously, they've been leading off with Willie Castro. He's 4,800, and good reason. Obviously, Royce Lewis is another guy that's just been crushing the baseball. Wallner, Stevie, another guy that's been hitting well here recently, just constant production. Larnick is a guy that, has also been hitting. He's been batting up in the 2-hole. Wallner's been batting down in around the 6 or 7-hole, but still producing. Kepler been batting somewhere between the 4 and 5-hole. He's 3,900. Stevie, as good as this team has played, why are they still so cheap? I don't get it. Carlos Santana, 3,800. Jeffers at 4,100. This team as a whole, love the Twins. That's absolutely been one of my favorite rosters all season, not slowing that down today.
Yeah, I mean, we see that from time to time on DraftKings where, like, guys just kind of are underpriced for a long period of time. And, I mean, Jackson Holiday, like, he's the prime example. He's still...
He was 3,100, I think, on the previous
for, like, a week.
Crazy.
Dude, like, for a week, he's been that cheap, and he just keeps hitting home runs. All right. Cincinnati at Milwaukee. We have Spears against Savale. Any interest here in Carson Spears?
No and no.
Well, I have a little bit of interest in Carson Spears today.
Large
field tournament stuff. I have some interest. Like, I am a huge.
Listen, Brewers.
Listen, I'm a huge Brewers fan this season, but
did you see what they did to Charlie Morton on the previous slate? I know I keep interrupting you. Did you see the stomping they just opened up on Charlie?
It must have been an odd start for Morton, right? Isn't that like
had to be every other bad good. It was 16 runs though. He gave up 4 home runs in like the first 2 or 3. It was. I was just sitting here like, oh my god, what are we doing? All right, sorry. It was crazy day.
All I was gonna say is, ever since Spears has come back, he's had some really decent strikeout stuff. So his strikeout rate has gone up, his whiff rate has gone up, his swinging strike rate has gone up, and I know like he had some good matchups recently. But like good signs from Spears. I'm gonna play Milwaukee. I'm gonna stack Milwaukee, no doubt about it. But again, like, in a 20 entry max build today, I am looking for a cheap SP2. I want to play Flaherty. I'm not even going to like hide it. I want to play Jack Flaherty against Pittsburgh. He's by far my favorite pitcher on the slate. I am trying to pair him with a cheap pitcher. We talked about Cabrera. We talked about Perez. Missing somebody else that we talked about down here. But Spears is another one of those guys where he's cheap. I could see him, I like, for what it's worth, I like Perez more. For what it's worth. But I think he's okay. I think he has a little bit of strikeout upside. I think it's kind of going overlooked a little bit. So I think you're going to get him at really low ownership in tournaments. I'm not playing Savali on the other side. I know that one. I'll let you give a quick no, and I won't disagree with that one, Will.
Yeah, that was my double no. That's why I said no
Yeah.
and no. But I got you. Yeah, I'm not playing Savali. No way.
The chat's cracking me up. Brewers might be a little tired from all the runs they've been scoring.
Steve, it was 16 runs, man. Like, oh.
They hit Sale the other day, too, didn't they?
No, they hit him to start before. Well, they did. They kind of chased him off, but like they didn't really light him up. Sale had like 10 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings or something like that. So he still like kind of nuked the slate. He just didn't really finish. But yeah, man, it was incredible today to see as just a baseball fan in general.
Cincinnati bats. Let's talk Reds. Who do you like here?
Listen, man, my boy Frito, Steve, I took him today, and Frito did not disappoint. And I am going right back to the well against Mr. Aaron Savali. Frito's actually one of my favorite players on this team today in terms of just the lineup in general. Pretty low K, Stevie, enough power. So this should be a good spot for him. Perfectly fine if you want to squeeze in some India, obviously. Whew. Excuse me, folks. Sorry about that. If you want
Will's watching the screen and watching me yawn.
Perfectly fine with that. Obviously, Candelario, if you want to get him in, not completely back at the top of the lineup anymore, but it doesn't matter. And let's not bury the lead here, folks. Ellie De La Cruz, 6,300. Saw something the other day, Steve. I didn't realize it. The man has 20 home runs and 50 stolen bases, or over 50, I think, or somewhere around there. And obviously, he's just going to continue to push that at 6,300. I think you need to get him into your Cincinnati stacks if you're stacking this team. He could just be a slate breaker yet again.
Cincinnati stack very much in play. Milwaukee stack very much in play. When Spears has struggled, it has been massively. This team has a lot of upside in it. We just kind of witnessed it, like we were talking about against the Braves this series. I love playing Milwaukee, and they're cheap right now. I mean, outside of like Contreras and Adames, the stack is cheap. So Milwaukee definitely going to make my player pool here on this slate.
Yeah, man. I love Milwaukee. Churio, by the way, I think he hit 2 home runs today, Steven, and did a bunch of other stuff. Man, I think he had 30-something fantasy points today or somewhere close. I had him rostered in my lineup. He was the only person from Milwaukee that I had. Thankfully, I got a small piece of that. Contreras is 4,900, a little bit expensive, but if you're stacking this team, I think he needs to be in there. Jake Bauers at 3,600, probably going to be somewhere in the 7 or 8 hole, Stevie, but still pretty cheap. Terang should be leading off. He's 4,100, perfectly fine with him. Mitchell, Stevie, 2,800, and he's been batting in the 2 to 3 holes, Stevie, here the past few games. So I don't know why he's 2,800, but he is. So he's definitely a guy that, if you're stacking Milwaukee, definitely want to get him in. And it's a big slate, so I don't expect this team to be over-owned at all in the slightest.
All right, we got Atlanta heading to Coors. Sounds like it'd be Holmes and Gordon facing off against each other. Grant Holmes, I mean, I don't really expect him to pitch too deep here. Any interest in Grant Holmes against the Rockies?
I don't think so, Stevie. But let me say why. It's the price. If he was 5,200, maybe even 55, Stevie, I might have some interest and just hope that he puts together some strikeouts for us. But at 7,600 going into Coors, I can't do it.
Yeah, love the hair and the stash, but just not going to make the cut for me today, even against the Rockies. Tanner Gordon, other side here. I mean, I know your Braves can strike out with the best of them, especially with all the injuries they have in this lineup right now. But Tanner Gordon, another guy, like, everything we've seen so far, below average strikeout guy, gives up a ton of power to right-handed hitters. Like, and if you think about the Braves lineup, like you probably want to struggle more with righty or struggle more with lefties against the Braves because you got Riley Ozuna, Soler. Like, you don't want to be a pitcher that struggles with right-handed power against the Braves.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't play Coors, Stevie, or I don't play them a lot. Let me say that. Depends on the slate. Today we've got an 11-game slate. I'm definitely not playing Coors, but I'm not going to talk you out of playing the Atlanta Braves. They've got some expensive pieces, and they did price them up. Like Olsen's $5,300, so he's a little bit more expensive. Whit Merrifield, I know for sure, was $2,900. He's priced up just a touch. Riley was around $5,200, I think it was, and he's priced up, a few $100s. For the Coors effect. RC is 37. He was 34. So they did try to price them up, Stevie. And so I'm not going to talk you off the Braves. This is a great spot for them. I'm probably not going to get to them on such a big slate.
Hard not to like the Braves against Tanner Gordon and Coors. I like them a lot. I think Ozuna, Riley, two of the best hitters on the entire slate. Arcia, he's been hitting the ball really well. Colorado side, any interest here in the Rockies?
Steve, I think I have to have some interest. Now, once again, you know how I feel about Coors, but I don't think a lot of people are going to be playing Colorado. And so I do think this team, is perfectly okay to plug into some stacks, Stevie. And, I know, you've kind of got your favorite player who's been McMahon down the stretch here. Rogers at 3,800, still cheap. You still got, Charlie Blackmon leading off at 4,500. So I think this team has enough pieces for you to put together a nice little stack here, and hope that they do what they're supposed to do.
All right, we got Philadelphia at Arizona. This game, the talk of chat right now. Zach Wheeler, Ryan Nelson, 8.5 total. Philadelphia 166 favorite. Any interest here in Zach Wheeler?
This is a tough one for me, Stevie. And the reason this is a tough one is because Zach's 10-2 today, and I like Zach. I think he's a great real-life pitcher. Do I want to take a shot against Arizona? I think Flaherty's the clear cut. I feel like I could fade Zach and be fine and just play Flaherty. And so, once again, this is not me saying I think Zach's a bad pitcher in any stretch. I think Zach is a great real-life pitcher. And I think he's a great DFS pitcher, Stevie. I don't think I'm going to play him against Arizona, though.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to what you're playing. If you're playing single entry, I don't know if Zach Wheeler's the guy. But if you're playing like large field stuff, I think you have to have a little bit of exposure to Wheeler. He's a 27% strikeout rate guy, and he's very good against like right-handed hitters in this lineup. They have a lot of righties in this lineup that they're not going to get out on a daily basis. So I think that is where you're potentially taking some shots on Wheeler. Ryan Nelson on the other side of this game, going to be a long or short outing for Ryan Nelson here.
Yeah, I think short. I don't look. Once again, I understand it. In the previous game on the slate, like the runs just haven't been piling up, but you just got to keep taking shots here, Stevie. And I'm definitely playing the Phillies against Ryan Nelson. Not a guy that I trust at all. Going right back to the well on Harper, right back to the well on Schwarber, right back to well on Bone. Trey Turner hasn't been great. Don't care. Don't trust Nelson. So I plan to be loading up on this team, Stevie, and I think it's a good spot for them. And I want to continue to play him. Sosa, another guy that's been a really good hitter for them. So I am in.
I like Philly a lot. They're another one of my favorite stacks. Schwarber, Harper, Turner, Bohm. Build around those four guys. Obviously, you probably won't be able to play all four of them, but I think this is a fantastic spot. Nelson gives up a lot of power to both sides of the plate. He doesn't really, I mean, he's a below average strikeout guy, and he's been worse lately. Like, I don't know what to really try to sell you on here. His command hasn't been good. Like, this is just a fantastic spot today for Philadelphia. Any interest in the Arizona bats against Wheeler?
Oh, man, I'm not thrilled about Arizona, Stevie. I think I'm going to pass once again. The reason I was not as thrilled about Wheeler is I just feel like Flaherty is just clearing away the guy. And I think I just want to pour all of my expensive or my big money, big salary into Flaherty. But I also don't want to load up on him against him with Arizona. I think Arizona may score a couple runs, but I don't think they beat him up. And so I think he's going to limit the damage here.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of interest in Arizona today. Pittsburgh at LA taking on the Dodgers, 7.5 total. Dodgers are 184 favorite. Mitch Keller, Jack Flaherty. Any interest here in Mitch Keller?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind picking on the Dodgers right now overall, but like we talked a lot about how slow of a start Keller had, and then like he went through a stretch where he was pitching pretty well, but like he's been awful again recently. His command has really been struggling, and he's not been striking anybody out. So I don't want that guy at 9K against the Dodgers. Just not seeing really good things right now from Mitch Keller. Not gonna. I mean, listen, we've kind of already said it. Like Flaherty, by far my favorite play on the slate. I'm not going to overthink this. I am just going to play him as much as I possibly can today.
Yeah, man. I like so Stevie on such a large slate. I am usually very hesitant to hit the lock button. I'm not saying I'm going to hit the lock button. I'm probably at this moment though. I'm like really close to it. Not only has Flaherty shown the strikeout upside, Stevie, the leash, he's been able to typically get through 6 to 7 innings, and his team should be in a position to get the win. So I love Flaherty today. I think he's the clear-cut top option. And I don't think he's going to have like 40% ownership, Stevie, because the slate is so big. So I like that as well at 10-5 Jack Flaherty. Obviously someone I was hoping we could get into Atlanta via trade. And hats off to him, Stevie, a little tip of the cap to him, because this guy had almost fallen off of a cliff, and he's back healthy. He's found a way to rejuvenate his career and became a sought-after commodity. So he's best pitcher on the slate. And I think it's just cool to, see his story.
Yeah, he's having one of the best seasons on the entire out of the whole pitching staff in all of baseball this year. He's been pitching great. No interest for me on the Pittsburgh bats. Any interest here in Pittsburgh for you?
No. Not playing any bats for Pittsburgh.
Dodgers? I think the Dodgers are going to be low owned tonight, Will. Like, big slate. They're playing the late games. Like, they're expensive. Yep. I mean, Keller, not a guy that, like, I typically, like, run to pick on, but, like, with his struggles recently, I mean, can the Dodgers put some runs on Mitch Keller today? I think the answer is yes.
I think the answer is yes also, Steve. I mean, you've got Ohtani and Freeman, who are obviously the pillars of this offense right now. Throw in Will Smith. Then, Stevie, throw in Hayward at 31, Hayes at 32. Teoscar, like there's enough cheap bats to balance. And I love teams like this, Stevie, where you're getting your big guns, but but the cheap bats aren't 4K. The cheap bats are 3K, which helps you balance out that salary. I love this team, and I think Hayward in particular for me today, Steve, is somebody I'm going to be interested in playing the Dodgers because he hasn't been buried in like the 7 or 8 hole. He's been batting around 5th, maybe 6th in some of these games, Stevie. So he's a really cheap bat to add in with these expensive guys to really bring that price level down. And with the pitching the way it is set up overall, I mean, you've got options galore. So I really like the Dodgers today against Keller.
All right, we got Mets at Seattle. Quintana against Miller, 8 total. Pick'em game. Any interest here in Jose Quintana?
Man, Stevie. So Quintana is another guy that has seemingly just found ways to be effective later in the season. Now, this doesn't mean that he's going to come out here and beat up on Seattle. I'm close to playing it, Stevie. Close.
Can I make a quick point really quick? I just want to lay it out as simple as possible for everybody. Jose Quintana and Martin Perez are the same guy, and Martin Perez has a much better matchup in a better situation overall. They're both going to score 15 fantasy points on today's slate.
But Perez, I know for sure Jose Quintana is going to get 90-plus pitches if he's rolling.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I get that. It's Seattle. We like picking on Seattle. Yeah. I like picking on Seattle a lot more with right-handed pitching for what it's worth.
Yeah. I'm not thrilled about this by any stretch. Because you can see, I'm not fully on board here.
Yeah, adding Justin Turner and Rosarina to this lineup is a huge upgrade overall. So, I don't know. I would much rather play Martin Perez today. I mean, that's just where I'm at personally, but I wouldn't necessarily fault you for playing Quintana. It's just their strikeouts are much higher against right-handed pitching than they are against left-handed pitching. And they have Garver, they have Cal Riley, Turner, or Rosarina, Robles, Dylan Moore hits left-handed pitch. They just hit left-handed pitching more than they hit right-handed pitching. So, I mean, that's my thoughts on Quintana. It's not I think he's a bad play. I would prefer Perez over him.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think the price difference warrants that too.
Bryce Miller on the other side, any interest?
Man, Bryce Miller's practically 9K. He has some upside, Stevie, but this isn't an easy matchup against the Mets. So I don't think I'm going to play him. He is at home, so I get it. Seattle's a pretty good part for him, but I don't think he makes my pool today. And I don't think
it just doesn't. His ceiling is so capped by his limited strikeouts. He doesn't typically go out and walk hitters and give up base runners that way. He throws a lot of strikes, but his ceiling is just kind of capped. He's not a huge strikeout guy. This team's not a huge strikeout lineup. It is their first game out of Coors for anybody that likes that kind of stuff. But overall, I'm not excited to play Miller at 8,900. Give me Jamison Tyon cheaper than
exactly.
Miller,
That's what I'm saying.
If I'm going to roll the dice in this price rate, give me Robbie Ray against Detroit in the next game that we're going to talk about.
Absolutely.
Give me the upside. And I don't think Bryce Miller, he's a really decent real life pitcher. Seattle has the best pitching staff in baseball as far as real life baseball pitchers. It's just not a team that I'd want to face in a 7-game series because they're just so deep at pitching. But I think fantasy wise, not that guy you want to play most slates. I'm not running to stack against him or play bats against him. I really don't have a ton of interest here in the Mets. They're kind of still priced up a little bit for the guys I want to play. I mean, you're never going to hear me say no to Alonso or Lindor, but I just don't see myself getting to those guys today.
Yep. Same here, Steve. We couldn't agree more.
Seattle bats. Any interest in Seattle?
I think he took some of this one-off power, Stevie. I think Justin Turner is one of those, because he's not expensive at all. So I think you can definitely play him. When you're just looking at that price, Stevie, $3K against Quintana, definitely in on that one. Cal Riley, if you want to play him, great. Garver at 33, fantastic. Rosarina 4,600 if you want to get him in. They got Robles leading off now. While Robles isn't, a massive power guy, I still think at 3,100 leading off you can get to him. So this is the spot where if you're playing some Quintana, I definitely think you get some exposure to the Seattle bats.
All right, we finish out this slate. Detroit at San Francisco. It sounds like it's not official yet, but it sounds like Herder will pitch for Detroit and then Ray will pitch for San Francisco. Brant Herder, like, I don't expect him to pitch deep into this game by any means. So, like, we're just not playing him. I want to talk about Robbie Ray, though. He's come back. He's pitched 3 times now. It hasn't been perfect, but the strikeout stuff, like, it's just typical Robbie Ray. I'm going to give up a home run or 2, but I'm going to strike people out. But depending, like, the Detroit lineup might be the best matchup in the world for Robbie Ray. Like, this lineup has the potential to be awful. And like, the stats back it up for Robbie Ray. Like, his strikeout stuff has been great since coming back. Like, he is your large field dart throw today. I think he's going to have some ownership, but I mean, I can't really talk you off of it.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I think, Stevie, getting Robbie Ray, pairing him with Jameson Taillon, my goodness. That sounds like a cash game build to me, and a possible single entry combination. Love Robbie Ray today. I don't think we have to sell anyone on it. I am fully on board with Flaherty as the top guy. Robbie Ray, in terms of strikeout upside, is probably going to be about as good as it gets here on this slate for 8,600. Stevie, love him in this spot.
Any interest in any of these Detroit bets?
Nah, not playing.
Who do you play? I mean, they're just, oh man, they are bad. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Malloy, maybe? Is he still really cheap?
I'm not playing anyone.
He's 28. Like, he's the home run that I would chase against Robbie Ray. Because, like, Will, at the end of the day, Robbie Ray is that guy. Like, he loves to give up home runs. So I think, like, Malloy at 2,800, last piece in type build type of guy. Jake Rogers, cheap catcher, home run upside. Yeah, I would chase like one-off, like really cheap one-offs against Robbie Ray. Because, I mean, he might strike out 8 to 10, but he'll probably still give up a home run. Is it weird I'm scared to play chalk Robbie Ray? Everybody's scared to play chalk Robbie Ray. I don't know if he gets to be chalky. He might be like popular today, but I don't know if he gets to be chalky. Taillon, I think, is going to be really popular today. Any interest in San Francisco in like a bullpen type of game here?
Oh man, I don't think I'm going to worry about it, Steve. Because look, I got a lot of offenses I like Cleveland, like Minnesota, like Milwaukee, like Cincinnati, Philly, Arizona, the Dodgers, parts of Seattle, the Yankees, Oakland, Toronto, parts of Boston. I just think there's too many lineups or places that I think I'm going to go for offense. Kansas City, it's just too many offenses, so I'm not going to worry about it.
That part in chat talking about Griffey cards. There was a time, I forget the year that I actually stopped, but I have an insane Ken Griffey Jr. card collection. For anybody that's ever curious, I collected every single Ken Griffey Jr. card up until a certain year. Like over 10 years of him playing cards. And I probably have 75 of the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. I have a ton of them. I've never said, like, I'm eventually just going to send all of them in to get graded and see what happens. But huge. I have a huge, like, Ken Griffey Jr. was my guy. I pitched and played center field when I was skinny and fast. So it was a long time ago. All right. Morning grind game here. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do you got today, Will?
Oh, man, Stevie. I think, we've got a couple options. I'm going to go with someone that's probably in the worst spot, but I think some of the highest strikeout upside, and that's Cabrera from Miami.
I'm going to go to my boy Martin Perez. Let's go. I did really contemplate picking Carson Spears, but I'm going to go Perez. Over 8K to score under 15. Who is your bust today? I think we have some options for this one today.
Yeah, I think we've got a ton. I'm going to go with Blanco because I truly trust this Boston offense to get rolling here. I think the right answer is Crochet if they have a leash on him, but I'm going with Blanco.
Yeah, I mean, if that game plays, Blanco not a guy that I'm going to play today. I'm with you. There's a lot of guys I think I can like easily check off today. I'm going to go Keller against the Dodgers. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Over 4K to hit a home run, not in cores. Who's going yard today?
Ooh, buddy. So many options, Stevie. I'm going to Cleveland. Give me Josh Naylor, first base.
Oh, I like it. I have no issues with that whatsoever. Miles Mikolas has been atrocious, and he has been giving up a ton of line drives to right-handed hitters. I'm going to go all the way to the top today and say that Bobby Witt hits a home run against him, coming off of a huge game against my Sox the other night. But give me Bobby Witt. Under 4K to get 2 hits. Jackson Holiday, not on the slate. He's been my auto pick the last few days. Any interest, or who do you got under 4K to get 2 hits today?
Going to stay in that same game, Stevie. Going to the other side. Give me Max Kepler, 3,900.
Stay in that same game. Baltimore's not on the slate. I can't pick him. I'm sad. I know what you meant. I was in my I'm sad I can't keep playing him. I love this spot today for Bryson Stott. I hate where he hits in the lineup. So I was trying to pick somebody else. I originally wrote him down. Lawrence Butler has like gone cold a little bit. So after like crushing the ball, I mean, it's really hard for me not to pick my guy. Oh, you know who I like? Forget. Yeah, he's cheap enough. Give me MJ Melendez against St. Louis and Miles Mikolas. Stack to score 6 or more runs. We have options. Who do you got?
Give me Minnesota. Been rolling them all year. Not going to stop now.
There's a song about that. Like, don't stop me now. Give me Philadelphia. Philadelphia to score 6 or more runs today. I really like the Phillies to get the job done. Any player props or pick and plays that you like on this slate?
Ooh, buddy, Stevie. Let's see if they have this up. I want to see what we have for Jamison Taillon in the strikeout department.
Well, I can tell you're not betting his over outs, Will, because it's 17.5 at minus 220.
Oh yeah, well we're not. Yeah, we're definitely not doing that.
It's his strikeout props 4.5.
4.5. That's very reasonable, Stevie. I'm in getting that minus 125. I like that. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I am definitely going to be looking at Robbie Ray's strikeout props. I love his strikeout prop today. I'm assuming it comes in at like 6.5. I hope that's what it comes in at.
But I think it comes in at 7.5.
You think it comes in at 7.5
against Detroit, and he's already like he kind of beat down the Dodgers, then comes back. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no, I hear you.
Let me see where Flair. Let me see if they've got Flaherty. They
don't have it up. Oh, do they?
That's 7.5. That's where Flaherty is. So I'm assuming Ray comes out close. If he comes out at 6.5, I'm going to rejoice. If it's like I'd be willing to go minus 130, maybe even minus 140 on that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where that line comes out at overall. Any other bets that you like on this slate?
I do like time. They're giving us minus 130 on the Cubs, so I think that's a really good line. We're getting minus 120 with the Royals. Now I understand it's Lorenzo, but I definitely think the Royals could beat down Mikolas here. And I know I'm kind of giving out a couple today, Steve. I don't usually give out this many, but last but not least, hear me out here. We're getting the Rays versus the Orioles. That's not on the slate. Zach Eflin's pitching, and the Orioles are minus 125. I think, that's a juicy one.
Yeah, man, Baltimore has been disappointing me this week, but hey, listen, 3-pick parlay back, morning grind style. We got a 3-pick parlay for everybody. Let's finish the week strong, Will. I'm going to go with over 4.5 total runs for the Royals at minus 105. I'm going to go to the Dodgers money line just to beat the Pirates here, minus 185. Got to pay a little bit of juice with that, but that's the good thing about these 3-pick parlays. You can kind of throw in one that you feel really good about, and I feel really good about the Dodgers today. And then I'm going to go over 4.5 runs for the Phillies. So going to some run totals here, and it's juicy today. Plus 462 for the 3-bet parlay to finish off the week. I will post the link to the Morning Grind contest in chat. Will, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Negative, my brother. It's been my pleasure to come on with you. I think this is a good slate, Stevie. So very excited about this one. Hopefully everything comes through for us on the props front as well. And let's cruise into a NASCAR and UCF weekend. Do we have trucks tomorrow?
Trucks Saturday. It's the final race of the regular season for the trucks, and the Cup race has an option tire this weekend for the first time ever in a points race. So the teams have these tires. They're calling them option tires. They're like a softer tire. They're faster, but they're going to wear out faster. So they get 2 sets of those, and it's going to bring in some strategy. We talked about it on the Running Hot podcast here on Thursday earlier today. So
hey, I need to check that out.
Excited for the weekend. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. We're back on Monday. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. We'll see you again on Monday.